Topic is called to chaos.
Mm-hmm.
We're still there. This is part 2. And the
Mm-hmm.
secondary part, my fight or flight, because you mentioned the
Mm-hmm.
fight or flight. So to gauge from on the call to chaos. When we discuss chaos, a lot of times people are thinking a negative factor is in
Right.
play, which is why, when we deal with industrial complexes, their concept or definition or way to define chaos is the devil. They're wanting to deal with something external instead of something internal. Issue comes up when they don't understand the purpose of the process.
Right.
They're
Mm-hmm.
put off by that, and they automatically want to blame it on an entity outside of themselves, not understanding that this is all for their good. So what are some of your thoughts about chaos, calamity, what that looks like? We can look throughout the biblical dialogue and see that dynamic at play.
Well, I guess for me is kind of touched on it last week because, uh, like you said, most folks look at chaos as like this the devil, so forth and so on. I can't stand this, and the mind is there's an illusion on the mind that here's this chaos, something got to be wrong.
It's an enemy, yeah.
So who created this? So people gotta understand that the chaos, the shifter was God Himself.
Absolutely.
So it's not a bad thing. It's just getting you from one place to the other, and that's all. Because at the end, when you come out, there's light. And my daughter called, and she said, "Dad, I want some peace." I said, "Listen," "I understand, you going through and you're dealing this and that." I said, "But you know what? See, you got to." I heard somebody say, "You got to fall in love with the process."
Yes, that's my words.
See, you got to fall in love with the process. Don't worry about the outcome. Because if you fall in love with the process, the outcome will take care of it. It's going to take care of itself. People have a problem with the process because the process is a lot of pushback. A faith that's not tested is dangerous.
Talk about it. Talk about it.
A faith that's not tested is dangerous.
It is.
Because you need this faith because you're going to have pushback. If you don't have no experience, then you will never mature. You will never know how to handle anything.
That's it.
Period.
That's it.
So you got to go through. You want this flowery bed of ease, and Yahweh, I don't want to go through this. It's enough and everything. I said, do you not know to understand the wilderness? Remember the story when Yeshua was led by the Holy Spirit in the wilderness?
Come on.
The Holy Spirit left. The Holy Spirit left.
Well, good morning, everybody. It's an exciting day. This is Apostle Crystal Lee. We are here for Torah, Back to Torah, Back to the Future. The title is Called to Chaos, and I'm excited. My fight or flight is a real deal. It's a real serious deal. I got my brother with me. Apostle Ace is on the line this morning. Good morning, brother.
Well, shalom and glorious grand rising, galactic grand rising to you, sister. It's a wonderful day. I'm excited once again. I'm
Inside stuff
telling
going on, so
you.
y'all just excuse us this morning.
And to everyone that's now that's live with us, I want to say galactic grand rising to you. It is always a pleasing pleasure to just be there and be in conversation and that you're there, and it's wonderful, and I appreciate each and every one of you. It is wonderful, and I'm just loving this right now.
You are. Listen, y'all forgive us because we got some inside stuff going on this morning, and you might hear us laughing from time to time. It just means we have to have a conversation later. I'm glad you're here, though. I really am, and I'm looking forward to many of you that have been tuning in and chiming in, coming on today and being with us. We're in a different space today, and prayerfully, those of you who understand how to press buttons know that we're on YouTube today, and we are not on Facebook, but I absolutely did put a link in the Facebook section to make sure that you had availability. So I may have to go to Facebook and put the actual YouTube link. I know all of us are not as technologically savvy, but we'll get there. We will get there. And in the meantime, we'll do whatever we need to do to make sure that you make the journey over to YouTube. That's really important to me in this hour. I think this is a highlight in the space that we want to highlight right now. We want to expand in this space. Facebook, I'm very familiar with, and we're going to use all the other channels, but we want to make sure that we show up here. So this is why we're doing it this way. Brother, I'm excited to have you here with us this morning. I enjoyed the opening for sure. I finally got your voice in the mix on the opening, and I am absolutely ecstatic about the conversation that we had to get to that. We did a lot of chopping to get there, but I promise you, we got there. We got there, and I'm excited. Just listening to you share, and you said a thing. You said several things that stood out to me. One of them was this particular thing that faith that is not tested is dangerous. And I think that a lot of people are not really understanding that faith is something that is tested. Faith is like a muscle, it's a spiritual muscle. Without faith, it is impossible to please Yah. So if you were thinking of faith as your spiritual muscle and you walking around here faithless, no muscles at all, if this is what came to my mind when I just thought about that. Y'all like people with he like his kids all muscled up. Okay, he like us all muscled up. You hear me? He loves it that we are when we take the time to exercise our senses. It's a scripture in the Bible. I want you to go find it. It talks about having our senses trained so that we would know the difference between good and evil, so that we'll know how to operate from the righteous place and not the unrighteous place mixed with the righteous place, because that's another place of consumption, right? So we're going to talk a little bit about that consumption as well. But we've got some things to talk about this morning. We're still in Genesis 14 and 15. We're still at the beginning of Abram's journey. And we're going to dive in, brother.
Yes. The intro was something else.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. My sister, she is very surprising.
I love it.
but as you stated that a faith that is not tested is dangerous, and and it goes into a faith not tested can't be trusted as well. It can't
Not
be trusted.
trusted. No, sir.
Cannot be trusted. And I thought about the scripture in Deuteronomy, was it chapter 8, I believe,
Mm,
and it says, very thing here that verses 2 and 3, but verse 1 said, "You must be careful to observe and do every law which I've given you today,
yes.
so that you may live and multiply and go in and possess the land Yahweh vowed on oath to your fathers." Verse 2 is important. Watch this.
Important.
You must remember that Yahweh your father led you in
Wow.
all this way 40 years, in
Mm.
the wilderness in order to humble you,
Come on.
test you,
Come on.
prove you, and to know what's in your heart, the
Inside of you.
intelligence,
Mm.
absolutely, to see whether you will keep His law or whether
Or
you will not.
come on. Come on. You
And
said
so,
humble, test you, and prove you. These are the scriptures that people are overlooking when they teaching their messages, and people are
mhm,
enjoying the whole your haters, your haters. Your biggest hater is you if you missing these things. If you're missing this, you're your biggest hater. If you're missing this point, that the reason why you're processing through some things is not because your greatest enemy is some entity outside of you, but the Father's desire is that for the promise that you come from a position of humility, that you've been tested or proven, right? And obedience. Humble,
we
test, and prove you.
yes, yes,
Go ahead. Say
it
something.
just it's just interesting because you know we're talking about the call to chaos.
Come on.
it's just interesting because he called them, because as in the introduction, the uh, chaos is not created for it wasn't created by the by the enemy. It
That's right.
wasn't
That's right.
wasn't created by a devil. It wasn't created by an enemy.
No,
It was created by Yah himself.
that's
It
right.
was created by Yah himself. And so when we understand chaos, it's into a shift. As we've talked about this before. That shift that creates chaos, but it's coming out into something. So that means I'm coming out, going into something, because he said, I promised you this. So I got to bring you out of
Mm,
darkness to the promise. So into the
mm.
marvelous light. So if I'm bringing you out, so I got to come
Ooh,
out of something to get into something. But it's the in between of coming out and getting into to a promise. That's
ooh,
that point right there.
mm.
That's the chaos, and that
Talk to it.
right there is important. And so you said something that was important. It's about willing and obedient. Because as I thought about this, you listen. My thoughts went to Isaiah chapter one,
Yes, sir.
chapter
Yes, sir.
one,
Yes, sir. Yes.
and what did it say?
Mm.
If you are willing and
And
obedient, you will eat the fruit of the land.
mm-hmm.
See, everybody ain't willing,
No.
and their folks ain't obedient. You got to be willing and obedient. So, in other words, we got to fall in love with the process.
Come on.
We got to enjoy the process. I mean, you're like, what? This is
Mm-hmm.
crazy. I gotta go through this just like the children. You brought us out here to die, starve to
Kill
death.
us. To kill us.
You brought us, to murder us, and we might as well go. We need to go back. All this
Mm,
stuff.
mm.
And y'all said, you know what? I've showed you things, but you got to go through this phase in order to get to the promise.
Oh my.
You
Oh
see, so because if not, if your belief system, your trust is in where you come from, you got to rely totally on me. And so many people are like,
my. Mm.
I'm going through. I don't want to deal with this. I just, I want to get to the promise, and I don't want to go through nothing. And that's what I was sharing about my daughter. I
Mm.
don't want to go through nothing.
That's a
You,
typical
you, you.
typical response to
Yes.
chaos. A typical response to something that's uncomfortable. I don't want to do this.
So it's just
But isn't that the that's the mindset of a
listen.
child?
Yes, yes. I don't want to feel pain.
Mm.
You're supposed to do this for me and do that, and and see, y'all had to create this, in order to bring us to a place of maturity,
Yeah.
strength, awareness, and to trust Him.
Mm.
So, but here is, yeah, they didn't trust Him. After all of what He showed them, they still did not trust Him.
It did not.
They complain, and because complaining is a sin.
Ooh, come on.
Complaining
Come on.
is a sin. That's one of the things that got them killed. They died because of their complaint and
Yeah.
murmuring. So
Yeah.
now y'all say, I don't trust you. You dangerous. You
Yeah. I
do
don't trust
it.
either. Yes. Oh my God.
So it is something, sis, because we no matter what, we all got to go through this process in life. Period.
We have to.
We
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 do.
see God created chaos to bring us to a new beginning. Oh my goodness.
Hmm. Hmm.
He
Yes.
brought us, he created chaos to bring us to a new beginning. And so, I love talking about Genesis chapter 1, each day of creation. The
Yes.
first day, he brought us. He said, the evening and the morning were the first day.
Mm. Mm.
And then so there's the evening. So that means that we were in a process of day, and so
Yes.
the evening came. And so when the evening came, so now we come into the night. So
Yes.
now he said the evening and then the morning, the next coming processing us, shipping us to what? A daytime,
Another day.
daylight,
Yeah.
another day, a new beginning.
A
So
dimension, a
so
new
so
opening.
absolutely a new dimension that says, and then now gives us insight for the second day of creation.
My
He said,
God.
now here's this new beginning, here's this new dimension. So now what took place on the second day? And so, but the main thing is evening and the morning is determines see how we go through it
Ooh, come
determines
on.
our outcome.
Come on. Come on. Like now you do know that this is a such thing that when the night comes, if you are having some form of illness or some kind of issue, it is
Hmm.
a fact that there's an exacerbation of that issue in the night. And this is why the word declares weeping may endure for a night. There's an endurance. Like your issue has an endurance in the night. You understand what I'm saying? It's like if you got a cold, that's the time you the most stuffed up. That's the time you coughing the most. That's the time you are feeling your worst. Is in the night. And if you're here, you've experienced this phenomenon. It just seems like when you wake up in the morning, it's a whole nother situation. You're not coughing as much. You're not as stuffy. Your head don't hurt as much. You're not having as much of an issue. But boy, when that night comes, it's like all of a sudden everything just shifts.
Hmm.
We see these things. We see, and I was sharing with you guys last week the importance of understanding how the Father desires us to get back to our original setting. Well, how he designed the mind is not how we've been using the mind. See, a lot of people think that your mind is a memory bank. You see, the mind and the brain are two different things. How they operate is different. But you're using your mind as a memory bank. So therefore, when you forget things, you are going into a mode that says, "Oh, I'm getting older. Oh, my mind ain't, doing." But you're not using your mind properly. Your mind deals with patterns. So if you do the same stuff over and over again, repetitively, your mind, as a processor who is identifying the patterns, is going to do an output based on patterns. If your pattern never changes, then your mind never changes. There's a thing called synapses in the brain. These are these points that are giving or lending pathways or creating pathways that help your mind, or your brain, I should say, function at its optimal place. Helps your mind begin to move in patterns, right? This is why I said to you last week, and if you missed last week, you need to go listen to that the truth of the matter is that the Father desires us to see in pictures. And this is why prophecy is such a bedrock of faith. Because prophecy and the prophetic don't deal with what you can physically deal with. It deals with a promise that's made that you have to identify or see something in order to jump into the flow of that to see the output, right? So this is important that we understand. You're supposed to write things down. You're supposed to be building a case. You're supposed to be building out things. And as you build out a thing and as you go over the thing that you're building, then the mind begins to identify patterns and it becomes a natural flow, a natural extension of who you are. So note, I know people that were elders that, apparently were going through those stages of what people call dementia or Alzheimer's. But I promise you, there were things that they had never forgotten. I had a woman I love very dearly. I was in her space for a little season, and Mother loved 227. Now, she couldn't remember a whole lot of things. She couldn't, verbalize a whole lot of things, but 227, she could verbalize that. She wanted to watch 227 every day. And if you didn't put it on 227, she knew it wasn't on 227, and she would say, "That's not it. That ain't it. 227." Okay? So I'm telling you, the pattern is what matters. And so when we get knocked off of our road, when we get knocked off of the pattern because we're upset, because we're going through, we're not understanding that we are being tested, we're being proven, we're being put in a position. And if you could just see the pattern, see, that's what Israel missed. They couldn't see the patterns, brother. Here, the Father is delivering them over and over and over again, and nothing in them because they refused to see who He was. They refused to see Him. They could not identify the pattern. Therefore, they just felt like, you just brought us out here to kill us. You brought us out here to kill us. You should have just left us. See, the pattern that we remember is the one that we recognize because we've been in that pattern for generations. So this is the thing that we behold to, is the pattern of slavery. That's what we behold to. I want to jump to something else you said, and I want you to come back in on this too, brother. You said, and oh my God, that's why I did the repeat on the end of it, because it just blessed me so much. I love when people talk my language. I love to hear, the same conversation. I love to hear the divine conversation come from the sons. That's what I'm saying. You said when the master went into the wilderness, the Holy Spirit left. And I made sure it was a delay on that. The Holy Spirit left. The Holy Spirit left. The Holy Spirit left. Because one of the things that people don't understand is that the Holy Spirit will leave. He will. You remember David's conversation? He said, "Listen, don't take your spirit away from me. You listen, just keep me together. But whatever you do, I know I can get in some messy situations, but whatever you do," he understood. I need your spirit. I need what you're providing. I need the expression. I need that connection in order to become, in order to be what you've called me and what you've assigned me to be. I need that. I can't do it without it. Remember, I told you that the vision that He's given is so big. You got to understand, listen, I need your spirit to facilitate these things. It's not, oh, this is too big for me. Oh, I'm going to think smaller. And it's not about downplaying the vision. It's not about downplaying what He said, because I'm telling you, after brother said, I'm going to tell you, we're in a season that is so phenomenal. There's no going back. You're either going to step fully into this and experience the output that Yah has divinely placed in you for this hour, or you're going to get crushed by what He's put in you in this hour, because you're going to see others moving forward as the sons of Yah based on what He said in other seasons. You got to move with the cloud, brother.
Oh my, oh my. Yes, it is something, and as you were talking, also my thoughts went into, here, we have the conscious mind. You're going into the conscious, the subconscious, and the unknown, and the unconscious mind. There is the conscious, subconscious, unconscious mind, unconscious mind. And
Yes.
so it's just interesting because as you were sharing, you know, here is the mind, the pattern of the mind. Here's the pattern. And yet at the same time, then the expression, we begin that expression of that pattern. And
Yes.
and as you were saying, that how the children of Israel for full 400 years,
Oh my.
they practice mixture. They
Yes.
practice It came in pure, but Yah had already warned them, you're going to be in a place that this is going to take place based upon Ishmael and Isaac. His Ishmael mama and Isaac mama.
Yes. Yes.
And so Haggai, what? She's Egyptian. He's letting them know this is going to take place. That's going to take place. So you're going to be in this place before, but I got to bring you out. But yet, their pattern that we saw, that the pattern, how we see the pattern, because of how they responded in the wilderness.
Yes.
How they responded in the wilderness. And so, because number one, when they was in the wilderness, he said, look, when it came to Mount Sinai, I'm going to give you my spirit of truth. They rejected the spirit of truth. They
Yes,
did not
they did.
have the spirit within them in the wilderness.
Mm, mm, mm,
They did not have. So when we press forward with Yeshua and say, wait a minute, now you're gonna go through this wilderness, this mind thing. You're gonna go through this. You got to overcome the mind, because if you don't overcome the mind, you can never overcome the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eye, and the pride of life. You cannot overcome the mortal things that attacks your flesh. You won't be able to do that, because what your mind, your body is going to reflect the pattern of the mind. So as he was led by the Holy Spirit said, okay, I'm leaving you there. And like you said, David, whoa, please don't take your spirit,
come on now.
because it's a bad thing when I
Mm,
don't feel you, when I'm not connected to your spirit. I'm not connected to you by faith. I'm not connected to you. And so I'm out here. And so y'all said, listen, I'm bringing you out here because you got to have victory to overcome where I'm taking you.
mhm.
Yeshua had to do this. So we saw the physical that he brought them out. So now where we at, we got to overcome this thing of the mind. Of the
Mm,
mind. And so he bring us to a place, because I'm dealing with the lust of the flesh. I see people be stuck. People are stuck.
just stuck.
People are stuck in the wilderness. They
Mm,
stuck in the wilderness. They stuck in the midst of the shift.
mm, mm, mm.
They stuck in the middle part where all that mixture at, and they stuck. And sometimes they feel close to Yah, sometimes they don't.
Oh my.
Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they're up, sometimes they're down. They're never just level, and just, because they're going through this process because they want to feel something. I don't even feel saved no more. Well, the spirit is not there.
Mm, 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 mm.
Now, understand, I poured into you. I poured into you. So now I got to mature you. I got to mature you, because understand this. It's interesting how they came out of Egypt. They were immature.
Mhm.
They
They were practicing something.
they was always on the titty milk.
Yes. Yes.
But he said, I want to bring you to a place where you ain't on the titty milk, that you could create. I'm gonna give you power and authority to gain wealth.
Yes.
I'm gonna get so that you can do something. Oh no, no, you can. We can't do this on our own. We need you. Please help us. Please help. I'm about to die. I'm about to thirst to death. I'm about to hunger. I need. I need. I was doing better. I was doing better out in the world. You brought me out here to bring so I could be poor.
Oh my God.
You took everything away from me. Yeah. Well, so now, see, you seeing the stages of the shift. And many people are in stages. They infant stage, and so I thought about this even more so. The different stages of life when you begin to talk about
Mm,
the mind, the person that you 227. That
mhm.
person. The dementia. You know,
Yes.
and it's interesting that pattern that was a repetition. It's a school of learning.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so that's something that you don't forget. You don't forget. But there has to be a disruption in order, because if you stuck and for Yahweh to get you the way He wants you to be, there has to be a disruption in your life. Understand this. Yah created all these things. He created all these things for the betterment of you. Because
Mm.
if you stay an infant, if you stay a toddler, you can never grow.
Oh my God.
I would never trust a toddler.
Come on, not to drive a car, not to
And
get me from
so,
point A to point B.
come on now.
They're great to hold. They're great to cool with and talk to, and but
And
they're
it's
not
it,
to drive.
and you know something that's interesting when they, because I went through the stages of life, and people like, because we go through these shifts,
Mm-hmm.
but we don't realize it's what we that the shift. So an infant from birth to 1 years old,
Mm-hmm.
but then when there's a shift come from to a toddler, you know. So from after 1, 2 to 3 years old to 6 years old. Now when I'm going through, oh, we see the fruits of it because they're going through chaos. They're
Yeah.
going through they're going through it's a maturing process. But the problem is we don't guide them through it properly
There
because
we
we're
go.
looking at we don't guide them properly through the process. So when they come out, coming into the next stage, they can enjoy it. But most of us come out of the stage terrible.
Come on.
We enter the next stage based upon the mindset of what we went in that process of going through. That's how, when we come out now. Oh my goodness! Here we go. You 3 years old, from 3 years old to 6 years old, and you still, you got this bad attitude,
Mm. Mm-mm-mm.
but no guidance. No, we don't. And so Yah has given us guidance through every shift in life. He's given us what we need to go through, but we don't pay no attention.
Mm-mm-mm.
We don't pay no attention because the religious complex system has bewitched us.
Oh my
Bewitched the people to listen. It's okay to be in slavery. I got you.
God. Mm. Come on.
It's gonna be all right. My attitude, and I don't want to go through this and what have you. But sis, I made up my mind. I'm gonna be willing and obedient.
Willing.
That once I made up my mind to be willing and obedient, I began to fall in love with the process.
Oh my God. Come
And
on.
so when I begin to see the outcome, I'm like, wow, it wasn't hard, but it
No,
was hard.
it's just a decision.
Listen, it's a decision. Absolutely, it's a decision. And so the create he created this chaos to bring us, like you said, when the nighttime comes, who working? But
Mm.
then I got to come through to the day. And so when I come out of darkness, what people don't realize, today is there is this cycle of creation.
Mm-hmm.
And we got to understand what part of the cycle we're on. We're in
Oh,
the morning cycle of creation. We're in
yes.
the morning because we're coming out of darkness into what? The marvelous
Marvelous.
light, eternal glory.
That's the
So
goal.
we're in that morning section. We're waking up. Everything is being revealed. That what was nighttime, we can see it. It's coming to light now. Why?
Mm.
Because morning began to reveal everything.
Yes.
Morning began to reveal what was in darkness. Why? Because light is now coming in and taking over darkness. That's
Yes.
so when things are being revealed, y'all would say, now you can see better how to make a better decision because in the nighttime you weren't able to see it.
Oh yeah.
In darkness, you couldn't see it. But I'm going to wake everybody up. Regardless of what you want to or not, we're in this creative cycle in the morning. And so here's this chaos. But y'all say, on every level, I'm bringing you out to a new beginning, to bring you out into daylight, eternal glory.
Come on.
But you're going to experience this in the morning portion of the shift.
Mm.
Like you said, weeping may endure for a night, but joy coming not in the daytime, because my joy is fulfilled in the day, but my joy is in the process.
In the process.
You mean to tell me I gotta have joy in the process? Yes, willing and
Count it all
obedient.
joy. Count it all
I
joy.
got count it all joy.
Mm.
Absolutely. I got to mean to tell. But listen, it's a matter of decision.
It's a matter of
Long
decision.
as, long as I'm resistant, I'm gonna have a problem.
Long as you're resisting, you're gonna have a problem. That's a real thing. You said something so powerful. You talked about that night uh, and how difficult it is to see at night. But here's the prophetic nature of the night. For the sons of Yah, we've been given night vision.
Mm,
Those who would
mm.
step into the average person can't see at night. That's why they're complaining. That's why they have an issue. That's why they're not moving in the faith of the night because they can't see. They have not crossed from the flesh into the spirit. They have not translated from the temporal to the eternal. They're still stuck in time, but the time of flesh. They're stuck in the time of temporality. They're dealing with time as a linear existence, as a linear experience. They have no clue that time is cyclical and that there are iterations of things and that there are shifts and seasons of things. And so you brought that up and it made me go back to, hey, Elder, I see a couple more people in the room that I love. Prophetess Marilyn, I love you. Pastor Shauna, I love you. I see you guys. Y'all come on in and invite somebody. The thing about it is that night vision that's been given to us as sons, if we absolutely behold to the night vision, to the dream, right? If we allow the Father who speaks once, yea, twice in the vision, in the vision of the night, in a dream, if we can hear, and if we cannot hear, if we have enough guts to ask somebody who can see and who can hear what we were dealing with, even just grabbing. See, but here's the thing: you cannot remember. You hear what I said? You'll never recall what you don't have value for. So if you don't think that the dream is anything, then you're not going to necessarily have a recall of things, not even the overarching theme or the you know conversation, because sometimes you don't remember the entire dream, but you remember the overarching theme of the conversation. And if you go to sleep in the night with the identity that, listen, I'm coming here to remember the overarching thing. I don't have to remember every detail, but I need to remember. See, there's a voice, right? When you read a thing, there's a specific voice, a specific frequency that runs. That's the thread of that particular reading or that particular thing that was spoken, right? It's like hearing the music that you hear in a movie. You know a scene is shifting. You know something is happening because you hear the music and you know that the theme is of this nature because of the music that you hear. If it gets tense, you know something's about to happen. If it gets mellow and calm, you know something's been ironed out, or maybe love is connected to this. You know, there's some kind of, you are viewing the scenes by the temperature or the frequency of things. So in the night, you can't see if you're dealing according to flesh. But if you've stepped into the eternal, you'll begin to see, if that's your desire, what the Father is doing in the night. This is what will give you joy in the morning, because you are absolutely clear that the thing that the Father said to you originally is the ending point, and that this is just processing for promise. It's simply the process for the promise. Brethren,
Mm. Oh my, oh my. Oh, oh my, oh my. It's I love it. I love this because it's so important for us to really get and understand this process of what Yah is doing now, and so even as I think about the interruption, or we're going in, we going in this cycle, and as we're waking up, and he's bringing us to consciousness, and everything, and it's just something, because we're waking up out of sleep. We're
Yes.
waking up out of sleep, out of this dark place. We waking up out of this dark place.
Yes.
And you talked about the night vision. Now faith is the substance of things hoped for,
There
and
you
the
go.
everything not seen.
Can't
And
see
yet we walk by faith and
and
not
not by
by
sight.
sight. So
Absolutely.
so our faith is night vision
It
to,
is.
to give us to see in darkness. And
Yes.
so our eyes are able to see what Yah sees.
Hmm.
And so now we at this place, to have this night vision, and able to see, and he bring us to that place, able to see what was it. We have a clear mindset, as you said, very clear in the mind and the direction of what's what, and able, no, can't go that direction, can't go that direction, because I can see it now. I can see clearly that the rain has come.
Come on. The rain is
you
gone
know,
now. I can see.
it's go.
Ain't
I can
nothing
see
small
clearly
in front
that,
of me. No obstacles in my way.
that nothing. Well, you see it.
Absolutely.
So I can see clearly now. I can see clear. And so when that sight comes, when he developed, when we get that sight, the eyesight, the eye of faith. I'm not talking about the third eye that the world talks
Come on.
about.
Come
I'm
on.
talking about the eye of faith. The eye of faith. They took it to say the third eye, and contaminate it, to how they want things done. The
Yeah.
system. However, y'all, here's the eye of faith. They took the eye of faith and turned it into the third eye.
Come on.
But we got the eye of faith, not the eyes, the eye, singular.
Clear. Be clear. Be clear.
You
That's
see?
you got to be clear, because if your eye is single, that's what the word says.
Right.
If your eye be
Absolutely.
blind, your whole body is full of light.
Come on. Absolutely. That means absolutely your whole body, you seen and you can see. You're seen and you can see. You can see and be seen.
Oh,
Okay. Okay.
come on now.
You can see and be seen, because your whole body now, you didn't change.
Mm.
From the flesh, and your garment, your body, your outwear is now glory.
Yeah.
You're immortal now. You see, and so as you were talking, I thought about here's the so people are stuck in a Levitical
Come on,
priesthood.
talk
It
about
is no more Levitical priesthood. The
Talk about
flesh.
it.
They're
Please.
so stuck.
That's
People are stuck. Let's go behind the veil. What
I'm a
veil?
Levite. I'm a Levite.
Yeah. So you stuck. So you're saying stuff that you don't even know, understand the whole process of where he brought them out of darkness into the marvelous light. The royal priesthood is the eternal glory.
Come
The
on.
marvelous light comes into the marvelous light. So that means we have our clothing is spiritual. We he brought us to show forth we are a royal priesthood
Come on. That's what we
that
need to
show forth the praises, that brought us out of darkness from the
Yes.
Levitical priesthood into the marvelous light.
Melchizedekian priesthood.
Absolutely.
I guess we have
Right.
to make the shift now.
Right.
Please.
So in this shift, he brings us out from the flesh, or the mortal, where the Levites were. They were mortal, because the priesthood, they had to do all these things to be immortal. But he said, but I'm gonna bring this out of darkness, because nobody couldn't see it.
Yes.
Nobody couldn't see the work in the temple.
Ooh,
But see, I'm gonna bring you out. I'm gonna shift you and bring you out. But people are stuck there, and because now they're stuck, it is so fleshly. It's so mortal. And I want to go behind the veil of worship. Worship what? Worship who?
ooh.
Yah's not there. Yah's not
Hallelujah.
behind the veil.
Not the natural veil.
No.
The
That was rent. That was
yeah.
rent
Come on, Elder.
when the Messiah died. He rent that. He
Yes.
said, "Now
You
I
gotta
go to seek." Come on.
come on.
So see, we had access. The priest had access to go into him. Now he have access to come into us behind the veil. Oh,
Come on. Come on. But are we
see, he
allowing
had.
access?
There you go. He can't come behind the veil of us and the temple when we are stuck and we got all this stuff going on and we just complaining he said, I will not dwell
I
in an
will
unclean temple.
come on. And I won't
My
dwell in temples made with men's hands. What you
come on
say,
now.
what you form, the structure that you identify with, the structure that you have architecturally designed in your mind concerning to put me in. I won't dwell there either. I'm looking for
Right.
something that's not made by the hands of men. It's something that I have created.
Mm-hmm.
It's a
Mm-hmm.
holy city.
Mm-hmm.
It's a new Jerusalem. I create this. This is related to the mind.
Absolutely. Yes.
Come on.
Yes. And so it's just interesting how we see things because people don't they talk about the royal priesthood and all the Melchizedek. I'm like, really? Oh my goodness. We
Mm.
taking us back to bondage into flesh,
It all
leading people into flesh without the spirit of Yah being in them, the
come
spirit
on.
of truth, the Holy Spirit not there. Oh, yes, I'm going to deliver you, but you always got to be led you got to be led. You got to be led by somebody so that you can feel like you're okay.
Come
You
on.
see, because the Levitical priesthood, they were the intercessors. They
Yes.
interceded, but y'all
Yes.
said no. They're bringing this out. They not gonna intercede for you no more. You got to be accountable for yourself now.
You're gonna have to be accountable. You're gonna have to
You
play a
got
part
to
in this. Play a part in this.
absolutely, sis. You
Yes.
got to play a part because if you don't know how to do it, you can't do something that you don't know.
That's it. That's
So
it.
we've been so you don't want to be a part of the Levitical priesthood, but I don't have to do all that because that was under the law and that was a burden. You can't do all of that and what have you. But yet at the same time, you don't know nothing. You talk about kingdom living, you talk about the royal priesthood, but you don't even know nothing about what you don't even know nothing too much about the Levitical priesthood.
Right. You gotta have foundation.
Absolutely.
You gotta
And
have
so
foundation.
here's the interesting thing, sis. Now, the Levitical priesthood, they were intercessors. They
That's it.
had to, they stood in the gap.
Period.
They stood in the gap. So therefore, they stood in the gap that Yah would not destroy children of Israel because of their rebellion and murmuring and complaining. They had
Yeah.
to do the sacrificing, all this stuff daily, 24/7.
Mm-hmm.
24/7. And so now, so they had to stand in the gap. They had to be eternal, that Yah would not destroy the righteous, the wicked with the righteous. So you got someone that's there, the Levitical priesthood, the high priest, they standing in the gap. Y'all said, okay, I see you. Because if they didn't, Yah was going to destroy the children of Israel.
Yeah.
Because now let's move forward to the Levitical priesthood. So you got people that's intercessors and want to stand in the gap. Stand in the gap for what? And people are dying in darkness.
Yeah.
Because why? Because Yahweh is destroying the land. He couldn't find nobody that would stand in the gap that was
Yeah.
righteous.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Couldn't find nobody. Can I find anybody?
Come on. You know, that was a conversation when he was dealing with Abram and the Lot
Mm-hmm.
situation, the whole Sodom situation and Amorah.
Mm-hmm.
That was the issue. He came all the way from 10 all the way down to, it was like
Went from
it was
went
more
from
than
50 to 10.
he came all the way down
Mm-hmm.
because the Father can count. He understood. When you come down this far, you already know that's going to be inclusive of the family your family that's in there. And if I can't find that, then I got to get out
Come
who
on.
I can get out who I can get out. I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna have to destroy this. I'm gonna have to get rid of
Mm-mm.
this because this is not serving my purpose anymore.
Mm-mm.
It's not
Mm-mm.
serving my purpose anymore. You
Mm-mm.
understand what I'm
Mm-mm.
saying? We got to be
Mm-hmm.
merciful. See, this is the mercy. This is what I love about Abram too, because of the mercy that he operated in to others, to himself and to others. I mean, you could be really hard on yourself and you could be really hard on others if you don't understand the mercy dimension. Because
Mm-hmm.
the
Mm-hmm.
truth of the matter is, things are happening in shifts and in seasons. And
Yes.
we talked about this last week, and you brought it up again this week, brother. The reality of the shift, right? It's shift happens, okay? But when
Mm-hmm.
shift begins to happen, that's the place of chaos that begins to also rear itself because that's
Mm-hmm.
unknown space. Shift
Mm-hmm.
is like the tectonic plates on the ground moving and shifting, and then earthquake
Mm. Yes. Yes. Yes.
because
Yes.
something's not any longer settled in the original position that it was settled in. Now things are
Mm-mm.
shifting, and chaos
Mm-mm.
is the output of the shift. And we talk
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
oh, we in the shift. Oh, things are shifting. From a religious place like this is something to say. Okay, do you understand what shift is? Because
Mm-hmm.
shift is chaotic. Shift is
Mm-hmm.
demanding that you have faith to function to get through this. Do you have enough faith for your future? See, the Melchizedekian order is a future order that's happening in a whole nother time. And if you don't
Mm-hmm.
understand it, you'll bypass it. You'll
Mm-mm.
bypass right over the Melchizedekian order because
Mm-hmm.
it was actually the Father proving what his first order is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, we got into some other things, but now he said, no, that's not the order though that I'm desiring for my people. And if you think about it, the reality is that when he chose Israel for himself, he chose a nation of priests. This was his desire. So
Mm-hmm.
you got to read you got to read the print. You got to read the covenant.
Mm-hmm.
You got to read the
Yes.
foundation to even get to that
Mm-hmm.
understanding that he chose a nation to be a priesthood for all of the other nations, but they refused. Brother said it. They refused. They rejected his voice. And do you remember the incident that happened before the door of the tent of meeting? This would have been right around the time that um, uh, the king of the king and the prophet got together. I got it on the tip of my tongue because it's coming up in my spirit right now. Y'all know who I'm talking about. What's his name? Balaam.
Mm-hmm.
Balaam and the king of that hour, who was supposed to be familiarly, all of us are familiarly related because that
Mm-hmm.
dividing of the nations happened at Babel, in Babylon. So here we are. This king desired to see Israel destroyed. And so they
Mm-hmm.
lured them with the women of their camp into a place of debauchery and just idolatry and sexual perversion. He said, you know what? Balaam said, you know what? I'm going to collect these spoils. I'm going to collect this money. This is what I'm here for. Now, I've talked to the God of Israel. I've had conversations. He's directed me and instructed me. This will go to show you he talked to whoever he want to talk to. And he defends his own. So understand the thing that's enemy to you has had a conversation with Yah. It just decides whether it wants to adhere to the conversation or not. Okay? Here he is. This thing happened before the door of the tent of meeting where the son of Israel, one of the captains, is engaged in sexual perversion with the woman in front of the tabernacle. And one stands up, a son of Aaron stands up. Nobody else saying nothing. They crying, they doing a whole bunch of stuff. This goes to show you the tears ain't about nothing if it ain't no action. Because the word says that the father was looking for those that cry and sigh because of the treachery. But there's something they wanted to do about it. So they were in the position of that original space where the Father is hovering, the Spirit is hovering over the water, and Yah say it right. They're crying, they're sighing. There's an expression that's coming out of them as a result of what they don't see, that they should see. But here, Israel's not doing anything about what they see. But this son stands up and he runs a javelin through both of them because there was a plague that was overtaking everything because of this sin. And this is when the Levitical priesthood was chosen. Before that, the whole of Israel was to be a priestly nation. They were to be a royal priesthood, a king and priest nation. But they wanted a king, for one, because they wanted to be like everybody else. And they didn't want to talk about and deal with the things that they saw. They simply wanted to be led, as brother said. Listen, I brought Prophetess Marilyn on this morning because we had a conversation. I believe it was yesterday or day before yesterday. And when I tell you, brother, all of the things that we've been saying, all of the things that we've been communicating from a prophetic standpoint, it began to become the expression of Prophet Merlin. And I just was like, listen, come on this morning and share, because I would share. But if she's in the room, I want her to share from her perspective. We engaged and went back and forth about this prophetic season that we're in. But I want you to hear it from her words, where we actually are on this prophetic timeline. I'm gonna let the prophet speak this morning where we are, and the apostle's gonna just sit back for a minute and let her speak about the prophetic season that we're in. Prophetess Merlin, it's good to have you this morning. I'm glad you were able to get on. We miss you, and we're just elated to hear what the Father desires to say about the season and the time that we're in, the shift that we're in. Where did she go? It's like, ta-da! You have to come back on, sis. That's some funny stuff. We done all the intro and all the stuff, and she done fell off. Oh my God, that's some funny stuff. While she's coming back on, I want to go back to this merciful point, because the thing about it is, and I use the children, and I'm glad you brought the children up again this morning too. I use the children to say this: there's an unhealthy expectation of adults when we start talking about children. We're expecting them to get it all right, understand the ins and outs, but what we're not understanding is environments and how environments are influencing children, right? So we get frustrated, we get angry, we get mad because you're doing this. Yep, King Balak, you're doing this way, and I'm saying for you to do it this way. But if the environment is not lending itself to the doing that you're requiring, and you're not doing anything about the environment first, then they're simply absorbing still what is in the environment. And that pattern is set for repeat. It's set on repeat. It's the same thing with when young adults are going into those years of what we call teenage. People are, oh, they feeling themselves, they smelling themselves. Of course they are, because things are changing. Shift is happening. Now, are you going to get in the trenches and have discussions that are necessary to have about shift? Or are you just going to let shift happen and be angry because you don't like the way it's looking? See, it's all of these things. We talk about standing in the gap, right? The intercessor position. When we're standing in the gap, we're not offended by what people are doing as much. We don't have time to be offended because we're gap standers. We're bridges. We're standing in that gap to bridge the gap so that they can get over to the other side. That means conversation has to be had. You understand? Something has to be said. And if you're not saying something and you're seeing something, then blood is on your hands. as a believer. Blood is on your hands because you're seeing, but you're not saying. See, when the Father saw that the earth was without form and void, when he saw the disorder, he allowed the gods to begin to recreate or to recreate the order that he established from the beginning. This is his expectation of the sons. That when we see disorder, we begin to recreate. This is recreation for us. Recreation don't usually piss you off. You know that, right? Recreation is a place where you're supposed to, where it's just, it brings you joy because it's not work, but it is something in your, within your call, within your will, to be able to do. It's something that you're capable of and that you enjoy doing. We've got to get to the place where we enjoy the work of the King because we were tasked to finish a work. But if we don't ever come into the place of enjoying the work that we're called to complete, we'll never complete it, meaning we'll never arrive at the outcome, the good and perfect, that perfect end, that perfect will of Yah. We'll never end on the note that he assigned, that he created, that he preordained. Yeah, there are things that are preordained, but you have to decide to reach the preordained point. It's like putting something in a GPS and going your own way. The point is designed, it's there, it's been preordained. But if you go a different way and you keep going against the GPS to go in another direction, then how in the world will you arrive? How in the world will you arrive? Okay, I think she made it back on. Prophet Merlin, we're glad to have you this morning. Go ahead and share the prophetic nature of the season and the shift that we're in. I unmuted you. There you are. Come on and talk to us. Brother, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Maybe she.
Unmute
Okay.
yourself, Prophetess Marilyn.
Yeah.
I'm
There you
trying.
are. There you're unmuted. You were just unmuted. I heard you say I'm trying. So whatever you were doing in that moment, you were unmuted. Make sure that you don't have an X over that
Okay.
microphone. There you are. There you are. I'm gonna mute. Go ahead. Ooh, this adversary don't want to hear nothing from us this morning. He like, not today. Not today. Maybe another day. I'm gonna tell her I heard you. Brother, we'll continue for a moment while we try to get her in here. Let's continue for a moment. It's something that I wrote down earlier, and I want to kind of pull that up because the call to chaos, it describes a transition. We're talking about the transition. We're talking about the shift, right? Because there comes a moment when the conversation must shift from the telling to the doing. And we're talking about people being stuck, right? We love to hear it. And it's a wonderful thing to hear what the promises are. It's a wonderful thing to do that. But there are seasons for that, where the Father continuously is building us with these words, and we're building our confidence in Him by repeating what He said. That's a whole dynamic that has to do with daily life as well, right? From the call to the execution. And this is the hour that we're in. Divine order demands divine action. And the script has been studied, the lines rehearsed, and now the curtain rises. We've been talking about this whole understanding your lines that for the entirety that many of you have been with me. You've heard me talk about this. Know your lines, because the time is going to come where it's lights, camera, action, right? And you ain't got time to be trying to study lines when the curtain has risen, okay? When it's time for you to know, and when the lights are on and the audience is there, because the Father will build an audience. It's time for you to know what you're supposed to be doing, how you're supposed to be moving. But have we truly understood what's at play? Have we grasped the weight of the call? Three levels of revelation demand our attention, right? I was thinking about the good man and his servants. You guys are familiar with this parable. He gave them an opportunity, a financial opportunity, but he did not give them the direct instruction on how to do the thing that he said. He just said, go do it. His instruction was, listen, take this and go do something with it, right? Was it blind trust, or had they already been groomed by exposure? See, it's some things that we miss in that. We just look at him giving them this money, but we don't see all of the things that were the build up to this. I'm going to come back to that. If Merlin's on, go ahead and share the prophetic nature. I can hear you.
You can hear me?
I can.
Okay. The times that we're in, it is so different. It is a time that we are definitely seeing the manifestation of governmental order, nations, order of nations. And if you are especially in this time, because it's just like when Jesus was in the wilderness.
We gonna get her come through. I don't know. Wherever you were standing originally, just kind of, I don't know if you're walking, if you have an earpiece on, if you have an earpiece on, take it out and speak directly into the phone, and just kind of put one arm up and one leg up. Be your own antenna, your own spiritual antenna today, because we need to hear what you're saying. We want to hear this. We want to hear this. I'm going to go back to the good man and his servants, right? It's something that we miss in that transition. We talk about this all the time. You know the story that I'm talking about, brother. We talk about it all the time, how the man gave the talents and how the one didn't do anything with it. And, that's a surface conversation. But the reality is, what we're missing is that there had to have been some exposure. In order for him to have an expectation, there had to have been some exposure. Whether there was exposure because they went to marketplace with him or for him, and the question is, are we aware of our surroundings? Are we absorbing the things that we need to absorb in every situation? Because we're talking about the complaint, right? It's easy to complain about what you're processing through, but are you absorbing what is necessary out of that space that seems uncomfortable? Are you learning something about yourself that is going to help you build for the future? I've often had this conversation about, I talk to my future self all the time, but the reason I'm able to speak to my future self the way that I'm able to speak to my future self is because where I'm standing now, was able to identify where I was and see the journey. And because I've come to a place of maturity, now I understand that reverse engineering is the way to live. It's not about waiting till something happens. It's about identifying, if that happened, what would I do? If this were to go this way, where am I supposed to be? And faith dictates your position. It'll dictate your stance. It, I'm going to be unremovable, always abounding, steadfast. Unmovability is the life of a son. Whether this happens or this happens, if this is the course that I'm on, I'm going to be steadfast, unmovable, always abounding in the work, regardless of what I feel, regardless of what I see with my natural eyes, because my sight is not on what I physically see, but what my sight, my spiritual sight, is on the images that the Father has already painted in me. And this is where my conversation is going to come from. That's where it's going to come from, brother.
Well, I'm just enjoying now. I'm riding. I'm
Right.
riding. I'm waiting for the prophetess to come on and get a position. And I'm listen. You said, brother, go sit here. Listen, I'm sitting. I'm enjoying everything. Oh my goodness.
Oh
This
my
is
God.
it's just so wonderful. It really is. And so much is, and a lot has been said, and just, oh my goodness. I got my cup out. I got my plate. I'm ready.
Me too.
I'm ready to eat. And
She's back.
see there, hallelujah.
And she's back. Come on, prophetess.
It's a lot taking place. And I saw the stars moving, barcodes, and our eyes are scanning things. We are in a different time. Our very eye itself, the pupils, it is scanning things. God created.
This adversary is funny. You hear me? Prophet, if you have a, because I'm do this morning. We're doing this, okay? And this here this lends itself to, so people be, oh well, it's the enemy. No, okay, we understand interruption, but we don't have to give any energy to that. The reality is there are ways around this. So, Prophet, if you have a phone that you can record a voice memo on, if we cannot get it this way, if you have a phone and you can record a voice memo, I want you to take the time. I'm gonna let you say it again. If you get cut off again, take your phone and record the voice memo and send it to me on Facebook.
Oh, okay,
If,
okay,
if you get cut off again, say
yeah,
it into
okay.
the phone and then send me the
Listen,
voice memo. Go ahead, I'm listening.
okay. Now, God intended us to do great things, mighty things, awesome things, because that's why we were created. And this is why
Yes.
Jesus said, greater works than he did. We will do what he did, but and he did great things. But
We stopped hearing you. Yep. Get your phone and speak into that phone what the Spirit of Yah is giving you to utter this morning, and send it to me on Facebook, because I will process it quickly and I will put it in the room. That's what we're doing. That's how we're going to handle that, because we understand objection and we know how to respond, right? I was talking about the three revelations that demand our attention. And I talked about the good man and his servants, and how we kind of just overlook the fact
because
that um, did they watch, learn, and execute from a place of practiced obedience, or did fear expose their lack of preparation? I believe that nothing just happens. You know, he wouldn't just give them something and have an expectation without them having been exposed. Expectation is a result of being exposed to something. You understand what I'm saying? So the Father's expectation of us is a result of the exposure that He's given, whether it's a voice of a prophet, whether it's something that an apostle, a pastor, whether it's through teaching, whatever it is, it's something that He has exposed us to in another season that He now has an expectation of us doing something about. You know, I have this conversation often. There are three things. What is it? Yeah, three things that you will always face as a challenge in life. The three things are, uh, what did the Father say? Do you believe it? And what are you going to do about it? Those are the three things you can be sure you're going to be challenged with. And that covers the gamut. Okay. That covers everything. What did the Father say? Do you believe it? And what are you going to do about it? Those are the challenges. And if you understand that those are the challenges that He's speaking, Father is speaking, and as He is speaking, there are loving instructions that are being given to us in order for us to identify and stay a course. Then listen, the battle is won. You understand that the battle is won, brother. I hope she's recording on her phone now, so that we can take that word. And it's going to be powerful. I promise you. We had a conversation
I,
today, and she was just in step, in lockstep.
yeah, because right about now, on my end is when I unmuted, it just is. that the frequency is very chaotic.
It's okay. It's okay. I'm on
Yeah,
mute. I'm on mute so you can talk. It's so chaotic.
yeah.
I'm on mute.
So it's just, I was just feeding on the things that you were saying, and um, you know, uh, with anticipation of the prophet and everything, and just and so a couple of things that you had stated, and I always share this, that we are in dress rehearsal. We're not in rehearsal. We're not in rehearsal anymore, but this is dress, because dress rehearsal is taking us the way we supposed to. When the curtain comes up, that's it. We know everything. We in place and what have you. Just interesting that being in this area of dress rehearsal, preparing, because the curtain is going to rise, and it's a lifestyle. And so in dress rehearsal, we learn the lifestyle in dress rehearsal. We take away the physical things, that the props and what have you. The director is saying this, and this person is doing it, moving you over here. But in dress rehearsal now says, you know what to be, you know what to say. Now you are accountable for what you're supposed to do. Rehearsal in the beginning, I'm helping you. But now dress rehearsal, you don't need my help as like you were in the beginning. So now this dress rehearsal is very important, because it's a lifestyle. If we don't get this lifestyle, if most people are still in the rehearsal stage, what do I do? I don't know what to do. What do I say? And what have you? Because they're stuck. And so now he shifted us over. We're shifted. It has shifted into dress rehearsal. We supposed to know. We're supposed to be in position, right position. No. You don't need someone to tell you you're out of position anymore. You said the wrong. You're supposed to know that you're in the right position. You're supposed to know the right thing to say at the time, when the time comes for you to say it. Because what dress rehearsal is saying to us, that here's this lifestyle in the kingdom of Yah, that this is how we live. This is how we operate. This is what we do. We know what to do. We know how to do, because we live this. It's a practice lifestyle, practice obedience. So we live this lifestyle. Y'all say, I'm gonna remove all these things. I'm gonna remove all these things. So now that I've given you the instructions. If you follow instructions and practice, you know where to be. When I speak, I don't have to continue to speak to you, because you know what to do. Because if you don't know what to do, then you're not ready for the lifestyle. You might be late for rehearsal. You're not going to be in place. You're going to have excuses. All these things come up in the beginning. Well, I had to do this and I had to do that. I had to go. I went to a wedding. I had to go to a funeral. I had bought some land. I did this, and I have all these excuses. But y'all would say, wait a minute, you're not even fit for the kingdom. This is a lifestyle. This is important for us today. Very important. And Yah said, for those who understand the lifestyle, this dress rehearsal, because the curtain's coming up. When the curtain comes up, it ain't about trying to get ready. You got to be ready. You got to know. You got to know your part. You got to know what you're supposed to be doing. And so that just stood out, sis, as you were talking and what have you. As I'm still waiting, anticipating, with my cup, and I got my plate and everything, because I'm ready to eat. At the table. Come on now, I'm sitting at the table. Sometimes I get so full at Yah's table. Sometimes I say, oh, I gotta really eat, to get some fuel. So, but it's just this. It's a lifestyle, and people have not come to that place of a life. They created a lifestyle because repetition is the school of learning, and so oftentimes we talk about people only they only read what they've been told. They only read what they've been told. So a lot of times we see that process, and because they practice it so much, it becomes a lifestyle. There has to be. Yah has sent His sons to interrupt that process of coming in and saying, "Ah, no, 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 no. You've been blindly following this, and it's been leading you into destruction." You see, because now the voice of the sons of thunder, the voice of the seven thunders now speak. We hear differently from what the others hear. The seven trumpets, the sound of the prophets that's in this seven the latter part of the age. The sound. The word that is spoken that has been hidden now is being revealed through the sons of the seven thunders, the sounds of the sons of thunder. You see, so now, because now it's coming forth, because it's a lifestyle of the sons of thunder. We had to be developed. We had to mature. All those things, because now we shifted from hearing the sounds of the prophets of Baal. We're no longer there. The prophets of religion. We're no longer there because we hear different. We see different. We operate different, because now we are in this dress rehearsal. Because in dress rehearsal, it's still it's interesting about dress rehearsal. We still get the benefits out of dress rehearsal because it's a lifestyle. As we shift into it, we don't. What do we shifted into what we've been doing. So that shift right there is not. That shift goes into it as we when the curtain comes up, and we shift into when the curtain comes up. It is wonderful, because now everybody gonna see. Everybody will benefit from the lifestyle, the dress rehearsal. It is really wonderful because we get in character, we get our clothing, we do all those things and what have you. It is really wonderful. And then we do it without thinking. We just we just do. And so that just really, as you were sharing about rehearsal and everything, and but yeah, so it's just powerful. It really is. I love it. So I'm a mute up. so, uh, so sis.
I'm here. I'm here. I am waiting to get it in my email, and it looks like the comments are gone over here. That's just crazy. This this thing is just amazing. It's amazing. So y'all understand, I cannot currently see you, but when it comes back up again, the comments come back up again, I should be able to see you and to post your comments, etc., etc. It says new comments will display here. If you're in the room, there it is. Okay. I made a statement while you were talking, and it goes back to the shift piece, brother, because the word declares, how can you get stuck when you are supposed to be moving from faith to faith and glory to glory, or Yah's doing to His next doing? That requires shift. That requires movement. It requires momentum. You know, this is the pattern that we're constantly growing in the grace and in the knowledge of Yah. Two verses came up, too, when you were talking about how we're to be positioned. And There's a word in Colossians chapter 4 that talks about our speech. You're talking about knowing what to say. The curtain is being drawn. And that's not the time to prepare your lines and all of that, right? It says in Colossians chapter 4, verse 6, let your speech always be gracious and seasoned with salt. That means there's an expectation that at a point you ought to know what to say. You ought to have a word. And then Isaiah is the prophetic conversation that happens before Colossians, right? In Isaiah chapter 50, there's a conversation that he has. He said, the Father has given me the tongue of the learned so that I will know what to say to those that are weary to bring them comfort. Are you hearing what I'm saying? This is dealing with the shift. This is dealing with how we're supposed to relate. This is dealing with those things. And why is it dealing with those things? Because there is an expectation that the Father has concerning the sons, that we be prepared to do the thing that he's called us to do. That we be in the position to do the thing that he's calling us to do, because this is what's going to make impact in the earth as the sons of royalty, as the priests, the king and priest, the priestly kings, right? This was an order that started with Melchizedek that came into David's reign, and this priesthood forever, this sit in the seat in the throne that the Father declares about David's rulership that is going to never end. This is the lineage. This is how the Mashiach shows up in that same glory, the order of Melchizedek. So what are we after the order of? If we are called to do even greater works, if we're called to finish the work, then we are not after the Levitical priesthood. We're not doing the antics or the actions of ritual in order to get to becoming. We are absolutely fulfilling, because we are the sons. We are fulfilling things from the place of who we already are as we continue to become even more of who the Father is in and through us. It's such a powerful position that we're in, and we have to identify. I'm hoping she did send it to my Facebook, but I'm waiting on her to send it to my email, because I really want you guys to hear this. I believe that it's going to bless you. Who's still on here with me? You guys still here? Thank you, Father. Yep. Okay. You're still here. And we weren't as successful as I wanted to be with the transition over to YouTube this morning, but we'll get there. Just as long as you guys understand, I want you on YouTube. I don't really care about whether you show up on Facebook. Click that link and come over to YouTube, because that's where we're building. And I'll be creating some new channels on YouTube as well. So that's where we want to build at right now. We want to build out right there. I hope you read Genesis 14 and 15, because you understand the dynamics and you understand the shift there. We go from the kings warring. And so when we're talking about this chaos, look at the setting. I want you to look at the setting. He calls Abram out of his father's nativity, right? And now war is breaking out, and his relative is involved. His relative is caught up in that. And a lot of people get in that frustrated mode, because they like, man, he called me out here. He told me to go to the promise, and now I got to fight. Well, guess what? That's a part of the journey. And so what does Abram do? He gathers his men. I believe it was 300 and something of them. He gathers them and he gives them what they need to go to war. But something happens in that process. I'm going to backtrack in a minute, because I didn't get through with the 3 revelations that demand attention concerning this call to chaos, right? But something happens in that transition of him, first of all, not complaining about the war, but going to war. It was innately his understanding. It wasn't a battle of ideas or concepts. This goes with the territory. And the word discusses that, listen, no warrior goes to war at his own expense. That tells you that there is a war. right? And then there's another verse that talks about us enduring hardness as good soldiers. That tells you that there's a need to have a position that understands the fight. A lot of people have gotten into the religious part of things in the religious industrial complex. They've got in this mindset that when I cross over and I give my heart to Jesus and I go through all of the antics, right, that life is just going to be a bed of roses. You can still have roses and still have thorns. You can still have roses with thorns in the garden, and there's still going to be bees and wasps and all the other things that most people hate because they haven't learned to become, one with what Yah has created. That there are two sides of a coin. There's the beauty, and then there is the danger of the thing, right? But if you're smart, you know not to pick up the rose with your hand and not cut off the thorns. You also know not to swat at the bees because they're pollinating. So that things can continue to flourish, right? Now you might catch the wasp nest. You might, have to do something about that wasp nest, but you know, all of these things have a purpose. And if you begin to defy the purpose of the process of things, then you begin to lend your life to a pattern of destruction. Brother, come on, say something. I'm going to go back to uh, this Melchizedek. I want to see the revelation of the thing.
Yes, yes. I'm tickled because that is so true. That is so true. Um, that here is the rose and the thorn, and So when you were speaking, I thought about when y'all said we are in great and terrible times. This is his day is a great and terrible day. I said I choose to live in the great and not in the terrible.
Yes, Lord.
And so, but a lot of people they can't see the great because they touching the thorn. So I got tickled because I don't want that got the thorns, and the bees and what have you. And that's so true. I'm learning where I stay at, about bees. I just I get stung by a bee. I need a pen. What do you call it? EpiPen?
Yes, sir.
But I'm learning something that is so true that because they're pollinating, and they do it to become to understand what they're doing, not to be frightened, fear, because that fear brings on a whole different type of in the chaos of things. That's the fight or flight thing, and so when you're not allowing, here's the bees, they're doing what they do, and you're not going there swiping and all like this, they'll land on you because understand this, it's something about they will understand that they understand when there's fear, because when you're in fight or flight mode, your response is how you react to this, or how your expression of all this becomes. Now it creates a type of war, a battle where you're at, and so your surroundings is affected by everything that's taking place. And so I was talking to someone that harvests honey and the bees. I'm like, oh my. And so they gave me a great lesson. And I'm like, oh, I've seen stuff on TV and all like this. But, I've seen bees on people. And I'm like, but learning the behind the scene thing. They're working. They're not trying to, and so you can stand in the middle of them. They can land on you, and they're not trying to hurt you, but they're going to do what they do. And so, but when we get into that fight or flight mode, because if I get stung by a bee, my thing, and then all of a sudden I'm like, I don't want to be around the bee. Oh no, 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 because this is what's going to happen. We'll go to swiping. Now you're at war because the bee said, oh, you attacking me? I'm coming after you. You coming after the whole hive? We're coming after you. Period. Now, so now it's fight or flight. Either I'm gonna fight you, or either I'm gone. But what it does, so that's interesting because when Yah in this whole area of chaos, what he's done, and so we get into that area where he's now molding. There's things that we don't like because Yah said, "I'm gonna test you," and these things, and no, I'm allergic to this. I don't want to do that. Listen, that and that. So now it becomes war. That fear sets in. When that fear sets in, so now it's a whole different process of movement or fighting against everything that Yahweh said. No, 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 don't fight. Just it's okay. I got you. But no, because now this is how I want it to be done. I've seen people, do certain things and what have you. I don't want this resistance. I just want you to just bless me. I just want the blessings. I don't want to go through nothing. You see, you could do anything like this. You're Yah, you're God. You could do anything but fail. So do this just for me. I'm your daughter. You love me just so much, and all like you, everything. You really, 20 years later, it's still going through the same thing. Sis?
I'm here, brother. I'm enjoying this. Listen, the audio did come over. Let's see what we got here, y'all. Get your pens and papers out, which you should already have out, and let's see what the Father desires to say to us through Prophet Merlin Mendoza. I'm going to play it right now. Let's mute up, brother.
Now God have created each and every one of us for a purpose, and He have created us to the greater. And while we were going through the process, He was pruning, plucking, cleaning out our heart. But many didn't allow Him to complete the work. So now we are in the space, and there are many struggling. God called us to the greater. Greater works. Jesus said, greater works than we would do than He did. He also said, because He went on to the Father. So in this time, our heart should already be in a space of submission. Our heart should be full of light, which means darkness would not find any space. Now, one of the things God pointed out to me is that the Tower of Babel, when they were building the Tower of Babel, they were building it without God. They were building it without His Spirit. So it was dark. It was dark, and that is why He caused it to be their language to be confused, and He caused the whole thing to crumble, because of the purpose they had for it. They did not want God to be a part of it. They did not include Him. They did not ask Him. Their heart was dark. Man's heart was dark. That is what caused a lot of the chaos that have taken place. But when you have the light of Christ in your heart, when your heart is illuminated with light, the purpose, your motives, everything would come from a space of light. So therefore, God can fully use you to do whatever He desires to use you for. You're no longer in a box. You're no longer trapped. You have a freedom to soar, to go beyond, to go beyond. He is in the unseen. He is beyond. We were created for His purpose, but many have been stuck and institutionalized their mindset. And that stronghold in the mind, strongholds in the mind, those things are just systems of thinking that limits God, that limits Him. They're not supposed to be any limit to God. He can do anything that He desires to do. The kingdom and the government of God is not just here, it is functional, it is operational. God is calling people to change governmental system, to change things. It's time for things to be transformed and look like what God intended it to look like.
Wow. It's so much in what she said, and so much more in her heart concerning this hour. You know, brother, what's your reflection on that?
Yeah, it is a lot. It we're in it, and we have to establish his government. We're not in the rehearsal of this. We are in it to do it, to establish it. That's the and that's important because it kind of lends into the three areas that you, I believe that's where you were going, because the talents in the three areas with that was what you were sharing, get ready to share, and I believe you're going back into that because it's establishing the kingdom. What does that look like? What does that sound like? Well, as we establish the kingdom, because it's a place where we're supposed to live. I mean, the new heavens and the new earth, his government. So it's interesting how that that the enemy have taken the system, have taken from the government of Yah, and then turn around and imprison us with the government, and and use it to for gain and all those things, and so it's just interesting because that is a lot. This is, yes, this is where we're at. This is where we're at. And so the light, the glory clothing, our dress, because we've got to shine in darkness and gross darkness. We got to establish this uh, and take it back. We see Yah has got different individuals into the belly of the beast, into the belly of the religious complex system, into the belly. But one thing that we look at those men and women of ancient times, and we can identify with Joseph, we can identify with Daniel, we can identify with the three Hebrew boys, and those things that in the belly of the beast, they sought to kill them. They sought to kill them, but they could not kill righteousness. They did not compromise, but Yah put them into the marketplace, into the government place, into the government of what they would, what was going on, and promoted them because they had to be tested and tried in the shift of things. Now, their journey, their journey, but they had to go through the shift. But when they came out, they didn't compromise during the shift. They didn't complain during that time. They didn't complain at all. But what they did was stood, as you stated, stood unmovable, standing unmovable, always abounding in the work that Yah has given them in the belly of the beast, in the belly of the religious system, because they operate together. The beastly system and the religious beastly system operates together because they traffic people back and forth. Slave trade. That's what they do. Slave trade in the system. Traffic people, traffic back and forth, back and forth. And we see that even in Revelation. So this is where we're at. This is where we're at. Why? Because globally that there is the number that no man can number, but yet they're coming to the courtyard. When they come to the courtyard, who's in place? Who's in place? That remnant, the royal priesthood, not the Levitical priesthood, but the royal priesthood, those who the sons and that are in place globally. No matter where you go, this is a global thing that's taking place. So Yahweh establishing his kingdom, his government globally through the sons. These things are happening. And so as we establishing this, how we're establishing it, the judge. So we have a different clothing on. We have glory clothing on. Glory is our skin. Glory is our covering. That's who we are. That's how we operate. We operate in the immortality of things, operating in this realm, this realm that we live in, but we operate in mortality. Glory. On glory clothes, we the light, like you said, the eye, and then once the eye of light, then the whole body is light. So therefore, we're operating and we're building, and so that means our heart, as the prophet was saying, our heart is not dark. Our heart is not dark. So that means our expression is not dark. Everything that we do is in light, in the light. And so this is where we're at. Mm, 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 mm. So I had a Selah moment.
So that required three. That required three. That's. I'm telling you, it where we are is so powerful. And as you were talking, this is what came to mind. And I'm going back to the three. Every government has a frequency. When you think about Nebuchadnezzar, he had an expression regarding the system of government that he represented. He built a statue. He said, I represent this government, the government of idolatry, the government of worshiping other gods, right? And there's a frequency that goes with the kingdom, a frequency, a doing, and an expression, right? So you'll know what government you are concerned about or connected to based on your conversation. And in this age, there is a demand for the attention of mankind in the governmental systems of this world, while aggressively altering the DNA and making mankind an extinct system all at the same time. I'm garnering your attention. I want you to focus on my governmental system while I change everything about you, while I rearrange on a DNA level. Because what people don't understand is that DNA is not just based on what is based on consumption. Your changes in your DNA, changes in your mind, changes to your physicality happen because of mentality. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. When the Bible talks about this son of Noah coming through the lineage, right? In chapter 11, when we have this conversation about Genesis chapter 11, we see that there's a son there, right? And what is his name? We see this son of rebellion, okay? But the word says that he is, what's the word that it used? He is, well, I'm going to say it in the English version. He is against Yah. He comes before Yah is what it was saying, expressing this mighty one, a mighty one against Yah, anti, right? He is against Yah. And this is where the problem comes in, because he's standing against, he's going before to get in a position. He wants the position of the Most High. And this is what the Father's not going to give up his seat. He's just not going to do it. And she began to talk about their building without him. See, they haven't even consulted him. And the reason they haven't consulted him is because this is not just about a structure. It's about technology. It's about entering into dimensions and realms without permission to overthrow what they didn't even create. How crazy is that? That mankind would have that kind of gall, unmitigated gall, to try to break and enter into the divine space of Yah. But I'm gonna say something to you, because this is absolutely, you can't miss this point. You've got to hear this point, because the Father stood up and said, listen, he's talking to the gods now. We've got to go down there And we've got to do something about what they're doing because they are all on the same page. They're with one accord. They're of the same mind. They're of the same heart. And they're saying the same things, not just physically speaking, but telepathically. They're all in alignment. Sis was talking with me about this the other day. I said, that's it. You understand. Telepathically, they're operating without saying. They're on this project and they all have the same concept. They all have the same end goal. Overthrow is the end goal. So how much more should our end goal be that of overthrow, that of rising in this hour? Because the Father's not concerned about these earthly governments like people think he is. He's not concerned about that. What he's concerned about is his government and his people being in position to do the work that he has commanded them to do. I did. While they are aggressively garnering your attention, they are causing the extinction from a DNA level of who you are. So your focus has to change because consumption is the way that we live. Brother, let's talk about that consumption for a second. Then I'm going to jump back to that other thing. And yeah, we are longer today. I'm trying to get through it, but it looks like we're going to have a part 3 because I have not even gotten to the Melchizedekian order and really just, flush that out for you guys and just, pull back the layers of that. But I want to talk about that particular thing real quick, brother.
It's an unending discussion. It's an unending discussion and doing. It's teaching and doing, just like you said. We not, there's the instruction, the teaching, and now it's time to what? Implement, do. So it's just interesting. And as you was, there's a couple of things. I just got to say this first because you were talking about, you know, that being one mind, this and that. Back in the day, I used to watch Star Trek, and they had many battles with the universe, different entities and what have you. But this one particular group, they had a problem with. Period. Was the Borg.
Period.
And the main, everything about the Borg was one mind, one collective, and it went from use this expression, went from generation to generation because they went and colonized people to their mindset, and nobody could not break that. They had, I mean, when they fought, it was the Borg had them. They had people from all over the universe, one collective, one mind. It was hard to defeat them. It was hard to defeat. So it just when you were talking about it, I said, "Ooh, them Borg was no joke." Why? Because they operated in oneness, and it's interesting because when we go, here's this thought. Here's our ancestor. We have two sets of ancestors. We have the righteous ones, and we have the unrighteous ones. And it's interesting. Period. It is interesting about ancestors because we are the expression of who they are, because now their words travel through time and the dimensions and all those things. It travels. It's still traveling to the third, fourth generation. And so if we are in line with either one, choose you how you're going to be, then it's a threefold cord that cannot be. It's so tough to break that lineage that's there. And so it's like, so when you think about that oneness and that Borg mentality, one collective, and how strong, because if there's anything in between is weak, you can be defeated. That's why it's either hot or cold. Period. No lukewarm because you're weak. You always get rid of that weak. So you either gonna be hot or cold, light or dark. Period. So, but anyway, as you were talking, that's I thought about the board. However, consumption. It's as we had many conversations, sis, about consumption.
I'm over.
That consumption, because when we go back to the garden, everything is based upon consumption. What we're eating, what we're taking in. So it's just and so when I got this revelation from some years ago, I'm thinking to myself, what mean to tell me everything that was done was based upon eating the right thing or not eating. So what we consume physically brings death because we have good food, we have clean food and unclean food. But if we eat unclean food from the devil, from the plate of the gods, all those unclean food. What table is your table clear? Is your table pure, or your table a mixture, or you just eating just bad food, bad meat, bad sacrifice? Because it was based upon sacrifices. It was. So what he said, don't eat this or you would die. Don't eat from the tree of the knowledge of righteousness and evil. That wasn't fruit. That wasn't something physically. That was spiritual consumption. But there were trees that you could consume. So disobedience, to get you to consume or eat something that is not pure, that is a mixture that is not right, is unclean because it brings death. So when we look at this, because what are we taking in? What are we eating? What table? What's at your table? It's just interesting because we just here's something that everybody can kind of get a picture of. Here's the Thanksgiving. Everybody coming, the table is set. You got turkey, you got ham, you got pork chop, you got chicken, you got you got chitterlings, and you got duck, and you got all kinds of stuff at the table. And you're sitting there, because based upon the sacrifices, all those animals are sacrificed in order for something to live. They died in order for something to live. What? See, people don't realize when these unclean animals, they die in order for unrighteousness to continue to go. Consumption. So here's the clean animal. They die in order for us to live righteously. Something died in order for something to live. So it's just interesting. So if you take this death that takes place, there are people that eat wrong, that don't eat the right food, unclean food. People that I can eat what I want. Yeah, you eat what you want. You got that choice, but you're dying. It doesn't help you. So people in the religious and complex system that go, stuff don't about you die is death. Your consumption what you're eating is killing you from the pulpit. What do you hear? What type of teaching? What is it from the prophet, from the apostle? What are you hearing? Is it a mixture? Is it so your consumption, what you're taking in? So all this is based upon, when we look at this in the beginning, is based upon consumption and sacrifice. Sis.
Ooh, I'm telling you, it's based on consumption, and if we don't get that, we're going to be facing that continual destruction, place of destruction. If we don't get that, a lot of people are thinking, and this is just from a physical side of things. A lot of people are thinking that what they're dealing with, oh, it's age, it's all of these things. No, it's not. It's your consumption. That's why a lot of people get older and then their doctors start telling them, stop eating this, stop eating that. They try to tell you, stop eating all that salt. What they're saying is that iodized salt is killing you. Stop eating all the sugar. What they're telling you is that that unnatural white sugar that you're eating is killing you, but you take it to the head. You allow them to take it to the head. Understand you need salt and sugar because your body creates or turns things into sugars. You need sugar for fuel and you need salt for energy. So that means that you need the right kind of thing in order to help you be in the right position to function. But if you take the words that are given you and you don't identify with what this is saying, what does this mean? Then they tell people, stop eating greens and stop eating all these things. That's combating your medication. Well, what they want is for the medication to be the thing that creates something in you and not the food that was created for you. I made a statement that Yah established the food of the gods and all the other kingdoms of creation on all levels, both naturally and spiritually, from the beginning. So we see him deal with, like you said, the consumption in the garden wasn't about food, physical, bread or meat. That was about doctrine. But then you see him having a conversation with Noah about, I've given you the green herb of the field. I've given you the seed, the plant bearing seed within itself. This is meat for you and the animals, right? We hear this conversation. So we know that there's a dynamic there that is dealing with both the natural and the spiritual. It posted it twice. I didn't post it twice. And Prophet Marilyn said, you are what you eat. I see you, Prophet Deanna. I love you. Yeah, this is where we are. Let me go back to this, and then I'm gonna turn y'all loose because we're gonna have to come back to this again. We haven't done a part 3 in Torah yet, but listen, this is what it is. We on Call to Chaos because this is a place that we have to have understanding in if we're gonna go further. And this is why Torah is so important, because when you have foundation, you have something worth building on. We're in this season where Yah is forging the sons forward, and I'm telling you, the territory, because of the government of Yah, the territory that we're taking, if we get on the same page, if we have the same mind, the same heart, overthrow is imminent. It's imminent. I'm telling you that right now. But the position he's put us in is so powerful. The things that are happening around me daily, the things that are coming into my understanding, coming into just the uploads that I'm getting. First of all, let's just start there. The uploads alone are just outrageous. But what the Father is doing in putting us in spaces and in places and reconnecting us to people that are connecting us to purpose and connecting us to the future of the word that he spoke to us. It's just, I'm going to tell you something. I told you, you go from the conversation to the execution, and we are in go time. We are in the time of execution. The suns are rising. That's period. And this is what the adversary has been really bent on. The adversary, your personal adversary, internal and external adversary, has been bent on you not arriving at the place ready, having your lines fully understood and clear, so that when you get to the space where the curtain is drawn, that you can begin to say and to do what it is, to express whatever the image is that the Father has called you to. It's such a powerful place that we're in. I'm gonna go back to this. I talked about the good man and his servants, and we know that one that did nothing but bury what was given to him. This was an opportunity. You have to understand, you cannot bury the opportunity in the way of the gifts of Yah and the calling of Yah. You cannot bury the opportunity and expect, if you're going to be in a relationship, to have all that he has designed for you to have. It's just not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. Fear is that thing that exposes the lack of preparation. You're never afraid when the curtain is drawn if you have prepared. So he was not this wicked servant. He calls him a wicked and slothful servant. That means, why would you call me wicked if I've never been exposed to anything, if I've never been put in a position to know what to do in this moment? They had to have been put in positions to know what to do, or to have an idea that something else had to be done in a way that would bring fruitfulness, or that would bring expansion or growth. He is put in a place of weeping and gnashing of teeth because he did not take the thing that was given him and multiply it. Let's go to the 3 Hebrew boys. Fire was their test, but it was all that test was also their testimony. Okay, so they were drawn out of the place that they were in. First of all, they were captured in the diaspora, right? They were captured, but this capturing didn't change their relationship with the Father. They maintained their relationship with Him, regardless of the fact that they were captured. Listen, we've been in space of capture throughout the years, and brother talked about this. Down to a DNA level, generationally, we've been handed some things, but then you have to make a distinction and make a decision between what family you're going to function from, because many of those that are listening and that will be listening to this broadcast are those that have been chosen in your family lineage to change the course of things. It skipped a lot of generations to get to you because you were the one that's supposed to change the dynamics of the family. You're the one, and you've been running from being the one because you of the weight of this being the one. The reason why the weight, yes, it's a burden, but not a burden in a negative sense. Burden as in it's something that you're carrying, something that you're called to, but you change it into a weight because you've refused. One, the weight is a weight because you haven't waited on Him, and two, the weight is a weight because you're refusing to come into alignment with the call. You're refusing. So now the thing that was something that you were supposed to be just carrying to bring transformation is now causing you to be crushed. 3 Hebrew boys, their test became their testimony. The real battle was never the furnace. The battle was when they got into that kingdom, not being transformed into the image of that king. While all the other, here's another point that people miss. They were not the only Hebrew boys there. They were there amongst other royal family in the Hebrew culture. They were there amongst other Hebrews that were chosen by the king because he saw the royalty and he saw his ability or what he could get out of them that would further his kingdom. Their real battle didn't come in the furnace. It came because they were captured, and now that they were captured, there was this desire to convert them. And they refused the conversion. Okay? The real battle was that and the confrontation between the true and living God and the gods of men. Let's look at chaos. I want to talk about chaos itself because this is the revelation that came out of some of this conversation and just reading this portion. Uh, if all creation is alive, I want you to think about this for a minute. If all that Yah created is alive, then chaos is not an accident. It is an entity. I need you to think long and hard about that. It's not an accident. It's an entity. It moves, it speaks, and it seeks vessels. Just as the lying spirit that was in the camp of the king, Ahab, amongst, that was the lying spirit that came from the throne of Yah. I'm making this very clear. Yah said, what are we going to do about Ahab, y'all? Right? And listen at the gods. They said, one of them raised his hand. He said, I'll be a lying spirit in the mouth of his prophets. Just as the lying spirit required a mouthpiece, chaos is waiting for those who will either command it or be consumed by it. I want y'all to know that the time for discussion is past. The moment of action is here. And the question is, are you going to step into the fire and emerge as a witness, or are you going to complain in the fire and be consumed? Will you take this gift that's being given, this opportunity in this moment? Or will you be like the unfaithful servant, paralyzed by fear, missing the very purpose of the call? This is the hour of reckoning. Call to chaos means you've been summoned for dominion. We're going to close it out today, but we coming back next week with part 3. Brother, say whatever you want to say, because after that we shut.
Well, uh, on the last, I want to share something, but there was something in the last. Either fire is going to be your ally or your enemy. Either Yah's bringing us, Yah is a consuming fire, point blank. since we are light, we are aura, we are light, so we are fire. So now we are a weapon, and yet we are an ally. Right now, this is who we are. This is what he's bringing us to. I am a consuming fire. People say, "Well, no, no." I'm asking who Yah is. I am a consuming fire now. But either me being a consuming fire is your ally or your enemy. My mama used to tell me, Junior, you gonna draw them or drive them.
Period.
Period. So I understand I am a consuming fire because it's when you begin to align, it's going to draw you in. But if you're not in alignment now, listen, you're going to remove yourself because now your spirit is not in alignment because we're dealing with spirit on spirit. See, we are, what folks don't know, we are in the fire right now as we speak.
Yes, sir.
And the fire, because it's affecting people because they don't understand what's happening to them right now. Either it's going to be the fire that we're in, that the earth, the Yah is purifying the heavens and the earth right now, is either your ally or your enemy. But anyway, that's a whole nother. But what I wanted to say is,
I
what I
love
want, what I want to share is, and it's interesting because you were saying something, and it sparked a thought because what's happening, and I wrote I wrote the word rezoning, taking we were talking
so
about government and everything, and so y'all said I'm rezoning everything because I'm destroying the boundaries. Mm. I'm destroying the. I guess I'm being pathetic.
Come on, let's go.
I'm destroying the boundaries because now the elements is the enemy. I'm using the elements as a weapon: earth, wind, fire, water, as a weapon. And we see everything in this chaos because there's the eye of the storm, but there's chaos. We come in a place of peace, but there's storm all around us. There's all the things that's going on around, but there is peace in this eye of the storm. So therefore, we see we see the destruction, what Yah is doing. The elements are now a weapon. Because now he said, because the system created boundaries. They created their governmental boundaries. You can't pass this, you can't do this and that and the other. Because now Yahweh said, now I'm going to get my earth back. And what I'm going to do, what's going to take place is, well, what's going to take place with my sons, my sons, what's going to take place? I'm going to rezone the earth because where you tread, you're going to set the boundaries now. You're going to set the boundaries in the earth. How we looking at this rezoning? Because you got places that's being burnt up. You got people, the water just wiping things out. Hurricanes that they're just blowing everything, and so it's interesting. The whole system, when it comes to it, they're gonna have to try to rezone. They're gonna have to try to do everything right because Yah is tearing down their boundaries. And so spiritually, with us, He's gonna rezone everything according to how He's ordained it in ancient time. He said, "The earth is mine. Now I want you to get it back, and you're gonna rezone it. Zone this, because we're talking about the new Jerusalem, the new earth, and the new heavens. It has to be he can't. He has to destroy the boundaries. It has to be rezoned." So as you were talking, I'm like, "Oh my goodness," because we got fire in places. We got hurricanes. We still got snowstorms, all frigid weather. All this stuff happening all at the same time, and He's rezoning everything. He's taking it down to be rezoned by who? The sons of Yah.
Oh my God. Listen, your nephew, uh, your nephew Greg is on. That's my brother. Your nephew Greg is on, Apostle Ace. He's saying, hey, Unc.
Hey, nephew.
Those are my people, Greg and Ellen. We go way back. Ain't that something? How things, the world is so small. How things just cross like that. I'm so excited. We gonna come back to this. The rezoning is real. Do you hear me? And that's all I'm dealing with right now is zoning and all these other things because of how the Father is positioning us in this moment. We got to understand the zoning of a thing in order to build. It's such a powerful conversation. We're going to come back to that because listen, the master said this, there's some things that I want to tell you, but you ain't ready. Paul said the same thing. There's some stuff I want to tell you, but you ain't ready yet. You can't process this yet. But how does this relate to the Melchizedekian order? Because at the end of the day, some things go without saying. And I love how the master set this up. He said, listen, I'm going to go away and I'm going to send the Holy Spirit and he's going to begin to reveal to you. In other words, what I'm saying right now, I'm still saying what you can't hear yet. And when the Holy Spirit comes, there's going to be a rezoning of the mind. There's going to be a revelation in the mind of the things that I already stated. And then you're going to understand what I couldn't tell you in the moment because you wasn't ready for it. But you're going to be processed though. And Holy Spirit's going to lead and guide you into all truth. Through those storms, through those tests, through that fire, you're going to understand what I desired to say from the beginning. Listen, we're going to turn y'all loose because, you know, we could go. We could go for real. We could go to we could go 2 more hours on this and just go through the whole thing. But I want you to be able to grab this in at least some bite-sized pieces. And 2 hours is not necessarily bite-sized, but it's a good size. Go through it again. Listen to it again. And if you missed last week, please go listen to it because it's going to bring you up to speed. Next week, y'all, we'll be on this same day, I believe. Let me check the calendar because I think we can already make a shift. As a matter of fact, we might have already made the shift to the new moon. I'll check it out. I didn't look this week, but I usually don't miss it. So at the end of the day, I'll post it up early. You'll see it, but I want you to be in here on time, and I want you to be on YouTube. So I'm going to figure out. Matter of fact, I want to bring some of y'all on in the room next week because I want to have conversations with you about what you're getting out of this call to chaos. What does this mean to you? What does this look like for your future? This is homework for you. I want you to write down what the objections in your life are right now, what you see as objections in your life. And I want you to begin to stop dwelling on those objections and begin to reverse engineer based on what you know could be potential objections for you, what your life is supposed to look like in the future. Now, somebody say, oh, well, we ain't got no control over that. You lie. Because it's given to us to know the mysteries of the kingdom. So this is a mystery of the kingdom that we understand the reverse engineering of things, but it's because we already have a knowing of things. So if we can identify the knowing of what it shouldn't look like, then we could definitely identify the knowing of what it should look like and begin to declare from that place versus the complaint and versus the place of declaring what is looking like that we're not approving of right now or what we don't want to see. If we could just understand what the revelation in that thing is and begin to reverse engineer and have that conversation, then you begin to see the manifestation of Yah in a way that you've never seen it before. Listen, we love you. We will see you next week. Again, I want you to be on YouTube. And I want some of you, love you back, brother. I want some of you to come on. So I probably can get about 5 to 10 of you in here. That's first come, first serve basis. If you can't get in, click the YouTube link. Thank you, brother. Show me the way. Let's do this, right? Because what we want to do is build our YouTube channels out so that this message can get to other people. And there are going to be some new things that you see happening, some things that I really wanted to move forward in other seasons and felt like I was just not doing what I was supposed to do. But the Father said, no, you just talked about it. You're just having the conversations about it. Now it's time for execution. So now that we're on the other side of the conversation, let's walk out this execution. And I'm excited. I'm super excited about the execution that we're called to in this hour. Man, this thing right here, I can't even I can't even give you words for it. I'm in it. I'm sitting in it, and I'm just like, it's it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. When you look at this guy on the cover, his mouth is open. He's like, I'm called the chaos, and you see the chaos, just kind of upside his head. Yeah, but you see all this wealth, and you see the armies, and you see all of these different dimensions of this image. It's there for you to think about things, and it's there for you to understand that, yeah, you might be shocked by the fact that you're called the chaos because you may have never heard that before, right? But after you close your mouth, you're going to need to start moving your feet and having a different conversation about what the Father has called you to, because that's what's going to determine the output, the outcome that you're going to have. Listen, we love you. We will see you next week. I want you to remember you're blessed. Don't you forget it. And remember our motto: the body is not a me thing, it's a we thing. If you have that mindset, you'll change generations. We love you. Shalom. Shalom, y'all. Say shalom, brother. I don't know where he went. He said shalom too. Peace, y'all.